Hey Muse, huge fan, Joe Sale. This competition is an amazing idea, and it's just absolutely fantastic. If this video gets anywhere near the top, I'd like 2 tickets to Ricoh Stadium, if that's okay, on the 22nd of May. This is a poem written over the top of Isolated System from the Second Law, so I hope you enjoy it. I don't know whether poetry is your thing, but yeah, thanks very much for hosting this competition. Hopefully see you there. The world is winding down into the ground, and we don't know what is living any more than this singular current in the isolated system, the system of rules in which we find ourselves running with animal abandon. There is no distinction between hunter and hunted. The hunted souls under paling stars are all silent as perished atoms, and yet subliminally everything is one loud scream for escape. The wormhole is widening at the core as the loop closes its epiphany. Particles dance in the Earth's swan song pulse and deconstructs the continuity of time, and we find ourselves running with animal abandon, as the surfaces suffer the cold blaze of dead stars to scorch them dry, and the only rhythm is the slowed metric drum of entropic hearts gasping their last push. And you said we would always be together. You said this poem would last forever, but in an isolated system all we are is radio blips, clips from the strip mayhem of devolving galaxies who swirl in 1.618 turns, the axles of this golden dream down to ad infinitum, like the mouth of antimatter that swallows all ages of knowledge. And no matter how hard we run, the pull of this vortex is always greater than the sum of mass.
Ever shorter deadlines, known as beat the clock.
If we could make 1 minute last, or write it in the starlit epitaph, and as the final light of this verse hummed, we might leave some fragile legacy in the ruined aftermath of Armageddon's ward in the cosmos of eternal voids, and say to any being that might find our trace, here was man who shaped their signature in the starlit epitaph of dreams and hopes, and spelt it in the dust from which they came. No palaces or monuments or fame for us, but merely words cast in the fragments of a broken sun to light the way for erring ships as they travel through our blackened cosmos in the afterglow of all our history, singing songs we have not seen, making dreams we could